You are listening to a free version of the Majority Report with Sam Seder. To support the show and get another 15 minutes of daily program, go to majority.fm, please.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Thursday, May 6, 2021. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, justice writer at Vox, Ian Millhiser, on his new book, The Agenda. Also on the program today, the Biden administration commits to waive vaccine patents for the rest of the world. Meanwhile, pharma's stocks plunge in its wake. Federal judge vacates the CDC national eviction moratorium. Liz Cheney about to be booted from Republican leadership. Okay. Adams edges Yang in the latest New York City mayoral poll. Mitch McConnell says he's 100% focused on obstructing Joe Biden's agenda. Bipartisanship, whither, where art thou? I don't know what that was. Columbia police fire into protests, at least 24 deaths, over 80 missing. The Labor Department makes it easier for workers to sue over misclassification by rolling back a Trump-era rule. Speaking of which, gig companies spend at least $1 million in lobbying Congress to reject the PRO Act. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for being here on this Thursday. Joining me, as always, Emma Vigeland is here. Hello, Emma. How are you?
Hello. I am well.
You look like you're about to start laughing.
Well, I don't know. I feel sometimes like it's Groundhog Day because you ask me how I am every morning, but
I'm checking. It's a polite thing to do.
It is polite, but we hang out or are working together about 2 hours before the show starts.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it changes. I just checking in on you.
I always say this when the show starts. I always perk up, get a little rush, and have even more fun. So.
Yeah.
Show improves my mood, which is shocking.
Just want to see if you're better than you were before, which apparently you are. So that's great. Glad to hear it. We're gonna come up with another.
You really don't. I don't know why I'm having some sort of fixation. It's like a manifestation of my low grade anxiety.
All right, well, there you go. So there we finally gotten the answer.
That's a very specific answer, actually.
Exactly. Well, how are you? You've got low grade anxiety.
Well, it usually comes out at night before I'm supposed to go to bed. So I'm good. I'm good at this point.
Starting you off early today. The sooner you start, the quicker you can recover.
Yeah, I guess.
Folks, lot to talk about today. Joe Biden sort of dancing around. Trying to deal with the fractures that are appearing within the Democratic coalition or the Democratic caucus, frankly, regarding taxation, regarding expenditures. Joe Manchin apparently not taking Mitch McConnell seriously when Mitch McConnell says 100% committed to obstruction, because there's no evidence that Mitch McConnell would ever commit to such a project. We have no experience whatsoever with the idea that Mitch McConnell would be 100% committed to obstruction and has no interest in bipartisanship. Therefore, Joe Manchin being skeptical about what Mitch McConnell says, that makes total sense in some other alternate universe, which makes no sense whatsoever. Meanwhile, on the this is a twofer. actually sort of a threefer for us. We always like to check in with Fox and Friends.
Right.
And the reason is because they're a good way to take a temperature as to what the talking points are going to be for the day with the Republican Party. But they do so in a fun and light way that it makes it much more fun to enjoy.
Fun, that term is being used quite loosely.
It's loose. I mean, although like yesterday, we talked about Brian Kilmeade attacking a 13-year-old sixth grader who was talking, maybe 12-year-old sixth grader who was talking about
who pwned him.
Yeah, who said the most obvious thing in the world, that the new president is doing a better job in dealing with COVID than the old president. That is, by anyone who is at least in sixth grade, not a controversial statement.
Kilmeade's brain has not developed past that point. So.
He has regressed. But meanwhile, this was on Fox and Friends today. It was notable for a couple of reasons. One, it is an incredibly restrictive and disenfranchising law signed into, bill signed into law by DeSantis in Florida, Ron DeSantis. Two, it was part of Ron DeSantis's run for president in 2024. Mark my words on this.
Be afraid of that, by the way.
And be concerned.
He could be actually someone that makes some noise.
Three, it was one of the most egregious examples, unabashed examples of propaganda that one could imagine. This isn't just Fox News is covering the signing of this bill. DeSantis had excluded all local media from covering the signing of this bill so that Fox could have an exclusive. And it wasn't just we're covering this. We're actually building it into a segment. And so
no local outlets.
No.
Even though this is a Florida bill, he's not the president of the United States, which would still be ridiculous going on national TV. This is should be for, like, local media should have access to it.
Yeah, you can't trust that local fake news. You got to go to the multinational corporation owned by the Australian reactionary.
And let's be clear. The argument here is that we're doing this despite the fact that you're going to hear DeSantis say, like, or I don't know if Fox and Friends has an official job in the DeSantis administration, if they still refer to themselves as Fox guests in this hosts in this segment. But they say, like, your 2020 election went off fine, but now we need to pull back from providing so much access during COVID. Well, why? We know why.
Because more Democrats voted by mail than Republicans in Florida.
And so DeSantis wants to show off his Trump bona fides by holding up his poster. So let's go to this clip. It really is stunning.
After the pandemic, Governor, a lot of people loosened up the rules because a lot of people didn't want to come out of the house. There were drop boxes, no excuse, mail-in balloting, and things to that nature. After years of struggling on Election Day and maybe extending it too long, most famously in 2000, you guys pretty much pulled it off flawlessly last time around, and you were able to get the results in. Now it's time for people to rein in and have a non-pandemic election. In over 30 states, they've made reforms. You're doing the same thing. What's going to be different about Florida's election in 2022? What are you about to sign?
So right now I have what we think is the strongest election integrity measures in the country. I'm actually going to sign it right here. It's going to take effect. So
there you go.
Bill is signed. And here's what it does. If you look, here's what it does. Now, we've always had voter ID. We're making sure we're making sure.
Do you hear what, keep that image up there. Cause, this is a little bit off point. Emma, we'll tell you in a second, exactly what this does. But you hear, Ducey say, you came with graphics. And then he holds up Florida leads on election integrity and transparency. The transparency is hilarious because literally they have shut out all of their local media from covering this.
Yeah, I know. We overuse the word Orwellian, but...
Exactly. But, I mean,
a.k.a. Zuckerbucks?
Maybe I'm being a little conspiratorial here, but those colors on that graphic that Steve Doocy was like, oh, you came with your own graphics, are exactly the color palette, and every network uses a specific color palette. They have like a style guide when they do graphics. Those are exactly the Fox News graphics. I mean, you can see how integrated it looks with the rest.
You are just like, you've lost your mind. I mean, that is just like red, white, and blue. It looks like Bernie's font.
It might. I would be curious. I mean, since
they're sending a message to the radical communists.
Well, I just wonder if who did up that graphic. I mean, it is a Fox News exclusive, and it would be interesting if I was a reporter in Florida and I was a little annoyed. That would be my FOIA right there, or I guess it would be my FOIA. But tell folks exactly what he's signing there that he's so proud of.
So, right. I mean, the issue here is that, okay, as Fox just explained, nothing went wrong in Florida, but yet they have to overcorrect for something.
Got to rein it in.
Yeah, they've got to rein in something that they literally lead into the segment saying went fairly perfectly, I guess, during the presidential election the last time around. So what this does is the initial bill was supposed to ban drop boxes altogether. So the silver lining is that there still will be drop boxes in Florida, but there's tighter rules about where they can be. So they have to be at the official voting place, essentially, and there are limits on the hours where some drop boxes are able to be accessed, which will most likely prevent people who can't get out of work from voting from getting to the drop boxes. The boxes need to be staffed by an employee who's overseeing it, and when the box isn't staffed by an employee during official hours, there's going to be round-the-clock video surveillance of the drop boxes. It also just prevents what Republicans call ballot harvesting, which is this made-up term, essentially, or they've manipulated the term to sound a lot more evil, nefarious and evil than it is. They've limited, and the details, and I've read multiple articles, it hasn't laid it out quite yet about how they limit it. But it limits basically who is able to drop off someone else's ballot. So say it's an elderly person or a person who's poor, who doesn't have a car, who needs someone else to drop off their ballot for them. There are limitations on that. And now voters have to provide their driver's license, state ID number, or last four digits of their social security number when requesting a mail ballot, which is the same thing that you need to register to vote. And the other thing it does too, which I think is actually low-key a lot more destructive than, I don't know, the other parts that have been emphasized, is that it spreads out the votes on mail-in ballots, essentially. So oftentimes when you get a mail-in ballot, you'll have multiple elections on that ballot. They're dividing it up so that essentially you have to request multiple mail-in ballots, and that's just the start of it.
They're just all of these things are just roadblocks to what they say rein in. What are they reining in? They're reining in the number of people who are going to participate in the next election.
And I just want to add, it also took notes from the Georgia bill, which they banned the handing out of water within some sort of /food within areas of the ballot site. So it's all just an effort to make it more difficult, and it doesn't matter what those provisions are, essentially. I mean, yes, it does, but the fact that there's many of them just shows that they're trying to make it harder for specific people.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Ian Millhiser, senior correspondent at Vox, author of The Agenda, How a Republican Supreme Court is Reshaping America. We'll be right back after this. Today's sponsor is BetterHelp Online Counseling, and they're giving our audience 10% off their first month when you go to BetterHelp.com/Majority Report. What is BetterHelp? It is it gives you access to your own fully licensed and accredited therapist. You can get this access via phone. You can do it through chat or video. A lot of therapists have long wait lists. Sometimes it can take weeks and months before they can see you. When you sign up with BetterHelp, They match you with a therapist based on your specific needs. You'll be communicating with them in less than